this here at Games Wild Elf 26, folks. This is another walk and rant video. It's going to be multi-topical. As you can see, I'm in front of the Kyrian mansion, apparently. I don't hear any moans of zombies, so that's good. This is a fresh walk and rant for y'all. And here in Flagler, Florida. So as you know, the video quality it doesn't mean anything in walk and rants. It's about the conversation between you and me and the response you leave in the comments section, folks. So here we go. Let's get into the regular camera angle, as always, and we'll start the walk and rant. All right, folks. As you know, most of you are probably retro gamers and cosplay fans like myself. Some of you might be regular gamers that play the modern stuff too. That's cool. My gaming basically goes up to PS3, and currently I still have to replace my PS3. There was talk of a PS3 that needed a door replacement on it, and it was gonna possibly be coming my way, and then I inquired a couple times and never heard anything back on that, so I just kind of let that float through, I guess, right? But I'm not bitter or nothing. Alright, guys. No, this walk and rant is talking about retro game systems made back, you know, before 2003 and way back before that. Probably, you know, I don't want to go before the NES, so we'll start at NES and end at 2003. And that'll be how long the walk and rant is. Just kidding, folks, it won't be that long. But there are many interesting ways to connect your retro game system to televisions these days. There's a lot of options. And there's a lot of gamers out there making a big hubbub, a big noise about, you know, CRT televisions and stuff. I'm a retro gamer, but we evolved to the flat screen HD televisions for a reason. They can be a lot larger and weigh a lot less and have image quality that's amazing on some of the newer devices. But there are options in the video image option menus that you can play older games on it. And if you adjust things like the sharpness and the contrast levels, and in some cases, depending on the console, if you adjust the color levels, you can dramatically improve the viewing experience. Now, that being said, there are games, types of games, that you can only enjoy fully on a CRT. And those are light gun games. Yes, light gun. And I know a lot of you are going to refer to the Wii, you know, oh, it's got some light gun games too. Yeah, with the sensor bar it does. Same goes for PS3 with the PS3 version of the iToy and the two hand remotes called PS Move controllers, which are like, you know, kind of imitations in some way of the way the Wii system interprets light gun screen interactivity. But basically, there's two sides of a fence on the theory of certain light guns. And you have some people that say, like the earliest one for the NES, right? They claim it's not even a light gun, it's a camera. And that it looks at the screen as a grid, and what it sees or confirms as a target is a little lit up box. They're like a little white box square. And if this camera zapper gun sees the white square, then it confirms that it hit a target, right? And for single enemies at a time on screen, that makes sense. Sounds, you know, theoretically sound, you know. But we hit kind of a snag when there are more than one enemy appears on screen at once. Like even in Duck Hunt, it has multi-duck mode, where 2 ducks will appear at the same time. So you have to kind of scratch your head and presume, well, how does it know which duck I actually aimed at? I mean, if all it sees is a white square, how does it know which duck you actually put the crosshairs on? And that's when we get into an interesting territory, kind of an iffy territory. See, the other half of the theory about light guns is there's a piece of equipment that most people have, an old piece of equipment, really. It goes back far. It's called a television remote. And on most TVs that have television remotes, they have an IR receiver, so the television can interpret what the remote is telling it. Well, the IR technology that emits out of the remote could be considered an IR pulse, a light pulse, infrared light pulse. And so the other half of the light gun theory is that there are some light guns that are not cameras that in fact project an IR light pulse, and that the screen, the CRT screen, when the contrast levels are adjusted proper, are able to receive and interpret the IR light pulse. The game logic attached is looking to interpret the light pulse, and that's how you get enemies struck or objects that are shootable struck. Because you have games where you have multiple enemies, and get this, you have games that you have 2 players, 2 light guns at the same time. So this is how things get a little kind of iffy, you know. I enjoy Lethal Enforcers 2 Gunfighters on practically any system I can play it on. But Konami had the blue Justifier light gun. And the blue Justifier light gun, which is molded to look like a large 357 Magnum, there was a calibration screen, and you can improve the accuracy of your light gun experience in certain games this way. And it had the calibration sequence at the start of the game, at the options menu. But there's some games, some of the more later games, where you could pause the game and calibrate in mid-game. Some of the House of the Deads, I remember I had Vampire Night, the PS2 version. And one of the calibration screens on a few of these games, you don't see a marker or a dot for what you're aiming at. You only see when you fire, there's a divot of some sort. And the fact that it's showing you a divot moving around where you're pointing the gun, you're pointing the gun. You're telling the machine where this thing will appear. It's not the machine moving a deliberate target where it wants on a path that the machine is logitating to. No, it's interpreting where you're moving the gun. So somehow it's sensing where you're pointing the gun. And it can't just be a lit box, you know? Because we're talking the entire screen. Every time you fire it, there's a little divot suddenly appearing where you're firing at. It's like, huh, okay, so that throws the camera theory out the window on those kind of games. Must be an IR light gun. But the multi-duck thing, that got me, because I never heard a clear explanation as to how it discerns which duck you're actually aiming at when there's 2 ducks on screen at once. And I'm sure some of you have theories on that as well. And that's what the wonderful comment section is there for. But yeah, House of the Dead, and you know, for people that own the flat screen televisions, you know, supposedly we can't use any of these light guns on them. And they were claiming it was because the CRTs have a quicker speed rate on how it does a screen refresh. So the newer modern televisions are less speedy in screen refresh than a average CRT television. Well, that's not very reassuring, is it? But that's what they're telling us. So for the old light gun games, yeah, if I have to, I'll have a 20-inch or a 18-inch CRT just for light guns. But you can tweak modern televisions so the color, sharpness, and contrast are just so they create kind of that blur effect that CRTs do. And some of the more modernized TVs even have other features like scanline imitations and other things that make some of the CRT video games look as good, if not better. But for light guns, that's the only reason I would even bother with a CRT. The whole point was the modern TVs are huge and they weigh way less than CRT tubes, which are gargantuanly heavy. You take your 55-inch TV and, yeah, go ahead, compare the weight of your modern 55-inch TV to what a CRT, we won't even go 55-inch, we'll go a 32-inch CRT tube television. Yeah, or maybe a 34-inch. Yeah, tell me the weight difference between those two, yeah. Also, the footprint difference is mighty eye-opening, yes. Because the modern flat screen TVs are just that. They're very flat. They don't have a huge footprint on your entertainment desk or whatever. A lot of them could be mounted on the wall. They're very flat. So tell me in the comments what you think about some of this stuff. And remember that most of these game systems before 2002, 2003, they only had AV, and some of the older ones only had RF. That's a coax cable screw, you know. And they did a couple revisions of the original Wii, and for some reason, when they did the revision that took away the GameCube compatibility, they didn't have the courtesy to give us a HDMI plug on it. No, it still used a crappy AV cords. But yeah, you had the same price, cost the same. Shit, yep. Yeah, they had no problem charging you the same amount of money, but they took away the compatibility with the old GameCube games. It's like, well, you know, and then they had the nerve to name the non-GameCube playing Wii the Family Edition. Yeah. Here, family, we're not allowed to play any GameCube on it no more. And we don't even get HDMI. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed this.